Good morning, everyone. Today's going to be our first lesson that kind of gets into budgeting a little more directly, specifically budgeting associated with renting an apartment. So the first thing I'd like you to do as a class is to do a little brainstorm of what you think some of the costs are that are associated with living in an apartment. Okay, maybe you know from personal experience, maybe you've heard from other people. Okay, what do you think some of those costs are? So this would be a good place to pause the video, have somebody go up on the whiteboard and record your brainstorm. And when you're done, we'll do some follow-up. Okay, so hopefully you're back because you did that brainstorming activity. Obviously, I can't take this up live with you, but hopefully maybe someone can snap a picture. I'll be able to see what you did. All I can really do is read you this list from the last time that I taught this course. So it's up to you if you want to copy this down. If you've got your own brainstorm down, you don't need to. But here's some things we came up with the last time I had this course. So there's your utilities, right? So electricity or hydro, gas, water. Okay, so sometimes those are included in the cost of rent. Sometimes they aren't, and you still have to pay them separately. Okay, obviously there's the rent itself. Okay, and again, in terms of that hydro, gas, and water, okay, if it is inclusive, that means these things are all in the price of the rent. Okay, if it's exclusive of that, right, if it's just the rent, then those have to be separate costs. And again, depends on the setup of the apartment and what the landlord does. Okay, there could be costs for parking, right? You may actually have to kind of rent your parking spot as well. Okay. There could be some degree of cost for maintenance. Okay. Some basic repairs might be covered as part of your rent, like if something breaks down and it's not your fault. Okay, but other things might cost you some money, or if you want to do some of your own work, that'll definitely cost you some money. Okay, with regards to that, there's this thing called a damage deposit. So again, at the start of your rental contract, you might be asked to pay an amount up front that will cover damage for certain things. Okay, the good thing is you can potentially get that back, okay, if you don't actually have any damage. Okay. When you start your renting contract, you have to usually pay the first and last month's rent at the beginning. Okay, again, it's kind of to show that you're committed to actually being in that apartment by coming up with 2 months worth of rent. The nice thing about it is for the last month, that means when you are finished your contract, you've already paid for that and you don't have to pay it again. Okay, you may have to provide your own furnishing, and if you don't have any of your own, that's going to cost you a little bit. Okay, and then there's just kind of the day-to-day cost of living, your food, personal items, things like that. Okay, so again, in summary here, okay, so this part I would like you to write down, especially if you don't have any of the brainstorming stuff down. Okay, that most rentals require first or last month's rent up front. Sorry, not or, and. Okay, you got to pay both at the beginning, but that means the last month is already paid when the end of the contract comes up. Okay, again, some rental contracts would require a security or a damage deposit, right? So that they have some money in advance if you end up breaking something in the apartment. Okay, however, right, if you take good care of it, then you're going to get that money back. Okay, it doesn't go away if you take good care of it. Okay, again, some of the rentals include utility costs, some don't. Okay, it's nice if you can get that inclusive, but I think probably, especially for electricity and water, they probably charge you more, or sorry, not charge you more. They probably want that separate, okay, because if it's included, then you might be using too much. Okay, and the last thing with utilities, if you're setting up a utility for the first time, okay, then sometimes they require deposits as well, something up front. So for example, when I was in university, the first time I was renting a townhouse, when they came to set up electricity and transfer that over to my name, they required me to pay like I think $400 right away, even though I hadn't used any electricity yet. Okay, but then for the first few months, I didn't actually have to pay them anything when the bill came in. They already had it there, but they wanted a guarantee up front that I would be able to pay for this first. Okay, that goes away once you develop a bit of a credit history, right? Once you've started paying some bills and you've proven that you do pay your bills on time, then companies stop doing that. They don't require you to do things like that. Okay, so we're just going to do a kind of one example here of how to set up a budget. So here's our example. A student rents a basement apartment when they're going to be attending college, and her expenses are as follows. Okay, so the rent for the basement apartment is $525 per month. Okay, the electricity bill, okay, it comes every 2 months and it averages $130 every 2 months. Okay, the water bill averages $220 and it comes every 4 months. Okay, for a basic cable bill, or fairly basic cable, that's $53 a month, including tax. Okay, basic phone, $30 a month, plus about $10 on long distance charges, like calling home and saying hi. Okay, and that's our basics. So we're going to calculate what her average expenses are per month. Okay, which is pretty straightforward, right? Most of these are already per month. There's just a couple that aren't, so we need to make that adjustment. Okay, so we'll start a little nice total down the side here. Okay, so the rent's not going to change. That's going to be exactly the same, right? That's $525. Okay, the electricity is $130 every 2 months, so we'll just divide that by 2, right, to get the per month, which would be $65. Okay, water is $220. That's every 4 months, so we divide that by 4, and we get 55. Okay, cable stays the same. Okay, and the phone totals $40. So we just have to add those up now. Okay, so I got $738 when I added those up. So that is our average expense per month, $738. Okay, the second thing we're going to do with this is just now estimate the cost of the apartment for 1 year, which is 8 months of class time. So we're going to look at this a couple of ways. Okay, the first way is just strictly with this 8 months, right? How much is it going to cost you for these 8 months here? Okay, so first thing, we're going to note that these said average, right? Electricity said average, water said average. Okay, the cable's probably good, about $10. So when we're making a plan for the future, we should probably pad our estimate a little bit. Okay, like even if you're just rounding up to say 750. Okay. So because of the variable expenses, okay, let's pad our estimate to even if it's just a little more, 750. Okay, we'd rather plan to spend a little more and have less than plan to spend too little and kind of have to go into debt for something. Okay, so then it's as simple as saying, well, that's going to be 750 times 8, which is $6,000. Okay, so the costs of living, this is just the living part, this isn't food, this is just running the place, would be about $6,000 for the 8 months. Okay, now I said we are going to talk about this another way as well, because realistically, if you have a contract for 1 year, okay, you're not off the hook for that remaining 4 months. Okay, either you're just gonna have to pay it off anyway, or maybe you can sublet it, right? Rent it to somebody else for those 4 months that you don't have to be there. Okay, unless of course you're planning to stay there and maybe work in those 4 months in between. Okay, so for the full year, okay, all we have to do is take our $6,000 for when we were living there, okay, plus, okay, because you could potentially shut off those utilities, or they cost a lot less because they're not using them. So we'll just add in the rent, right, for our year estimate. So 4 times 525. Okay, so the full year cost of running that is a little over $8,000. Okay, as a rough estimate of what that would be. Okay, so again, that's your kind of basic introduction to some budgeting stuff. So on page 458, okay, those are some practice questions that I would like you to have a look at. Okay. Also, don't forget, although this shouldn't have happened already, your assignment was due. Okay, so that should have been handed in already in class. Okay, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you tomorrow.